Hey, what's up guys? Sloth King here. It is day 2 of trying to get this Supra running to get to the car show. So as you guys saw in the first video, we went through the diagnosis to see what's going on. And I believe the oil pump is completely done. So we gotta get to it. And first things first, we gotta jack up the vehicle, drain that oil. Let's see if there's any glitter inside of that oil. And I actually have another test kit. Remember when I said that I was waiting on getting oil analysis? I actually have a second one. So while I drain this oil, we're gonna collect another sample of that to see if there's any major engine wear compared to the first test to this test. I also have something really cool to show you guys that will help out dropping this subframe. So anyway, let's jump right in and let's start tearing into the Supra. All right, now that we have the Supra up in the air, let's go ahead and drain this oil. And I have my oil collection container right here as well. We're going to take like a midstream sample of it. We're gonna let it drain, and then we're gonna check out to see if there's any metal shavings inside of this oil. So let's get right to it. Wow, I put that on too tight. Oh, that was a lot. I don't see any glitter in it. It's very dark though. All right, we're gonna let that fully drain and then we'll check it out. All right, while that oil drains, this is what I want to show you guys. So this is an engine support bar. This is gonna help out so much. You don't need a cherry picker or an engine crane, whatever you want to call it. This bar sits on either side of the fender, and then you have a couple adjustment points right here in the middle that you attach a chain on each of your engine hooks, and then it will support your engine. So this is exactly what I need. It is super compact because I need to drop this subframe right here in order to take off that oil pan. And I don't want the engine to fall on me, so that's what this support bar is gonna do. It's gonna help support the engine while I take off that subframe. It'll make everything super easy to get to, or easier, you know, instead of having like just an engine crane right here where the legs would go underneath the car, but it would block the area that I would need to lower the subframe. All right, so while that oil is still draining, I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the battery just in case, and then I'm gonna pull up the repair manual and we're gonna go through the steps on what to remove so that we can drop the subframe. All right guys, so here's the oil, and it does have some metal shavings in it. I don't know if it's rod bearings, main bearings, or the failed oil pump. I hope it's just oil pump debris, but God. So I have a magnet right here. Let's see how much it picks up. Or if it picks up anything. Yeah, look at that. That's not great. But yeah, I actually don't see anything sticking to the magnet. So it might be just brass, which I think the end of the oil pump gear is just brass. Huh. All right, well, let's check out the repair manual and start taking stuff off. Okay, so I have the repair manual pulled up on my iPad. Next, let's go ahead and brace the engine. So I have this open. It comes with, let's see. Oh, that's heavy. So you get these posts right here with some rubber feet. This is what sits in on your fender area. So you got that. Inside of here, this is the hardware. So we're gonna go ahead and just set this whole thing up. Okay guys, I have it slightly mocked up. So now we're just going to fit it properly. We're going to probably put the rubber feet over on this part of the fender and then just go straight over on that side. So I have this loose. I'm just going to support it like that. Come over here. It's like a lot of back and forth. So since this is sticking out so far on this side, I'm going to loosen that and then just pull it over. And then you see this nut and bolt right here. I don't have it completely tightened. That way we can pivot it, right? Let's make sure this is fine over here. Still got some length sticking out over here, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I have it right up against the fender. Have that right about there. Let's tighten that. Come over here. Make sure we get all the play out. Hand tight that. And then now we can go ahead and tighten this nut and bolt down. That way this doesn't pivot. And I will be going over this with a 1/2 inch so I can get more leverage on it. Right now, that seems pretty good. So we're going to attach our hook in it on each side and then attach the chains. All right, so now here comes the super fun part. So I advise you guys to go pick up some of these, I forget what these are called. They're not D hooks, but this is usually what you have on like an engine hoist. You want something so that way it can lock together. All right, so this came off my engine crane, my cherry picker, whatever you guys want to call it. So that's going to be right up on here. If I can close that clasp. Or you can like hook it right on there, right, and do this. This is going to be fine. And then we're going to take our little hook right here. Going to attach it right on here. And actually I'm going to flip it around so I have my threads where I want them. Okay. So we're going to screw this on just like that. And once it gets tension, this will be completely safe. We're going to do the same thing on the other side with some extra chain that I have. And then we will start to raise this engine up a little bit. Okay. I have this whole thing set up. I have it nice and secured on here. I have these bolts tightened down. This is tightened down. This has no slack in it. This is all nice and tight. Everything looks pretty even. It brought the engine up like maybe about that much, so that means it's just pulling on those engine mounts now. I also wanted to point out that these, the little screws on top, some of the brands, people have complained that they get loose, but I haven't come across this issue. I would just assume that it's like a poor manufacturing thing, and then just to return it and then get a new one. So now here comes all the fun stuff. So like I said earlier, I have the Toyota repair manual pulled up on my iPad. This is the whole procedure. It's on a few different pages. So I'm going to go through and start just removing everything. So I have to take off the wheels so that way we can disconnect our brake lines, disconnect our struts. So I might have to go ahead and remove my, well, I am going to have to. I'm going to have to disconnect my oil cooler hose clamp. Disconnect engine oil cooler hose from oil pan. Okay, that's not too bad. Next page, yep, remove brake hose brackets and clips. Disconnect our steering link. I think that's right up at here. It wants us to remove it, like right up by the firewall. I might remove it from the rack. I don't know. It depends what I can reach easier. And then, of course, disconnect stabilizer bar links, shock absorbers from the body itself, not from the subframe. We can remove the 2 bolts and 4 nuts on our subframe. And then we can lower the whole entire front member onto a couple jack stands. Then we can start removing the oil pan. So, let's get right to it. And right there, there's our steering linkage. I'm gonna remove it right there. So I think I have a Sharpie on me. I'm gonna mark right where the flange is sitting, so that way we can line it up right back where it was. All right, I got the bolt out, and hopefully you can see I marked it with Sharpie. And whenever the subframe drops, that should just slide right out, hopefully. All right, next we're gonna disconnect these transmission stabilizer bars right here. So let's go ahead and take those off. All right, next, let's go ahead and loosen these engine mounts and make sure that the engine is fully, secured. All right, I'm gonna lift up on it just a little bit, see if it moves. Yep. All right, it's moving. We're gonna keep it just like that. Next, we are going to undo our ABS line right there and just pull the sensor out right over here on the wheel side. That way it doesn't get caught coming down. And then afterwards, we are going to disconnect this brake line. I'm probably going to shove a water bottle over it. That way it can collect all the brake fluid. And if that's stuck in there, we can just take out the sensor that's pushed up through here, which actually might be a little easier. It's located right down here. Hopefully you can see it. It's like this little gray connector. I'm gonna unplug that and then pull it through. There we go. I just don't want to damage the sensor going into the wheel hub itself. And while we're here, let's go ahead and disconnect the sway bar. And then let's get this brake line off. Always use a flare wrench. That way we don't strip our brake line. And if you need to, you can put a wrench around the other part of it, just so you can get some good leverage on it. All right, now here comes the mess. There we go. Now we just do the same thing on the passenger side. Only thing left to do on the driver's side is to unbolt our strut up here, and then we do the same thing over on the passenger side. All right, and here comes the very fun part of just removing the subframe. So I have my jack stands in place, and I have my jack holding the subframe right now. So there's going to be two bolts. There's going to be a bolt here, bolt on the driver's side, and then two nuts. One right here, and then one right there. And it's mirrored on the driver's side as well. So I'm going to remove the bolts first, remove the front nut right up here. And then I'm going to remove the middle one. All right, let's lower it a little bit. All right, and I also position my wheels so that way it doesn't like completely fall off. And then up here, I also have the nuts still on the top of the strut tower. This side hasn't gone down yet, so we're gonna see what happens there. All right, so I had to take the nuts off of there. And then I lowered these jack stands one more click down, and let's see if I have enough clearance now. Now I think I actually have enough clearance to take off that oil pan. Let's see if you guys can see right in there. See the oil pan? I think I have about 1.5 inches of clearance now, 2 inches. No, that looks like 3. It's really hard to tell, especially on camera. All right, I'm gonna make sure this is all stable, and then let's start taking out those oil pan bolts. Alrighty, now with all of the oil pan bolts out, we can begin the fun part of separating it from the engine. This gasket is going to be a little hard to get off since it's a form in place gasket, so let's go ahead and start chipping at it.
One eternity later.
All right, guys, so after fighting this oil pan for like 1.5 hours, I finally have it pretty much ready to take out. All right, so let's go ahead and remove the whole oil pan. I might need to straighten it out because it kind of got dented. All right, there we go. You know, I really love the form in place gasket, but at the same time, I really hate it. Okay, so look at that, there's everything. So it's not gonna be, well, I don't wanna say that. I don't wanna jinx myself. So I gotta remove this one union bolt right here. Then there is a 10 or 12 millimeter right over there. And from what I remember, the pump literally just comes right off. Oh yeah, and then there's the strainer nut right past there. So let's go ahead and take this off and then head home. Sorry, I do not have a stable shot for my camera, so if it falls off, I'm just gonna take the pump off and then we're gonna go from there. Okay. Now, I think the pump will actually just come out. All right, guys, it's day 3, day 2.5, whatever you want to call it. I kind of left off abruptly last night when I was trying to take off the oil pump. It seems like it's just stuck in there. The housing like can rotate and move. I took off the set bolt that holds it down. I took out the pump strainer bolt, and I actually removed the whole strainer because I thought it was getting in the way. And then I undid that union nut or connection, whatever you want to call it. So the pump can rotate freely. It just will not come out. Whenever I like move it left and right, I can see the little brass gear at the end not move at all. So I'm not too sure why it's doing that. So it just got too dark last night and I just needed a break. So that's where I left off last night, and my camera mount is kind of broken. The thread's stripped out on it, so I'm not too sure if I'm going to be able to get a good angle of it, but I'm going to try to use a pry bar and try to slightly pry that out. If not, I might have to take off, I don't want to, but I might have to take off this front timing cover and remove the drive shaft pump gear. The pump should literally just come out on its own. I'm not too sure why it's doing that. I tried rotating the crank just a little bit to see if that gear would move, but I didn't see anything move. Also, it was late too, so I don't know. I'm gonna try to clean up some of the stuff around here, and then I'm gonna just try to use a pry bar to try to take it out. And if it does start to come out, I'll try to get like a good angle to film it. But right now, with how my mount is, I don't have a spare one on me, so I'm not going to be able to get like a good angle. So let me go ahead and start chipping away at this, and I'll give you guys an update if I can get it out. All right, guys, I can barely get this shot for you. I did take a picture, but if you look at those gears on the oil pump, the brass ones, you can see that they're mangled and they're like chewed down. And I think that's what's holding it in. It doesn't appear that the left gear is damaged at all. So I'm going to move forward with slowly prying out this oil pump. All right, guys. So I got the pump out. I literally just had to pry it out. I did not cause any damage. But look at this gear. That is insane. It's so worn down. Look at that. But it looks like the pump still tries to pump. See? I actually wonder what happened. Because, like, I tried just turning the crank a little bit, and the drive pump shaft gear, that still rotates just fine. I'm actually not sure what happened. I might need to pop off the top of my timing cover, just like the black piece, to look down there to see if, I don't know, maybe something happened with the gear. Maybe the gear's loose, but anyway, so I got this out, and I'm gonna just double check like the rods down there, try to wiggle them, see if there's like anything loose or anything like that. So give me a few minutes. I'm gonna go double check that, and afterwards we're gonna check the pump clearances on my old pump that I took out of the car. So I want to see if the old pump is still within factory spec, and if it is, we're going to throw it back in as long as nothing else is damaged in there. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, guys, we are back at the house, and I have my old pump in front of me, and I have the new destroyed pump. So what we're going to do is check the clearances on my old pump. So just to see if we can use it, I do hear some back Like, I hear that. I wonder if this one makes it too. I wonder if it's just because there's oil in it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and open this up, and we are going to follow the instructions on there. All right, now that we have this all open, so we're going to measure the clearances on the driven gear, which is this one that's attached to this shaft right here. We're going to check the clearances between the gear ends and body. So it says the maximum clearance is 0.2 millimeters. So this is 0.203 millimeter. So let's see if this goes between the body and the gear. A little bit. Let's see what part. And they're measuring it like right over here. Oh wait, I have two feeler gauges on here. Uh-oh. That's probably why it's getting doubled up. I'm like, oh, this seems like it's starting out pretty good so far. All right, let's start this over. So 0.203. Let's see if this fits in between. It's not fitting. I mean, it's fitting like right over on this side, but I would assume the closest it would be like, let's see, there, if I'm following that picture, this is the set area, so this is probably where it's like building pressure. So I can't get a feeler gauge in between there, nor there. I can get it in right over here, but this is like the start of it. So I'm thinking that this is like right at the edge where it's building pressure. So it seems like that's within spec, but the standard clearance is 0.105 to 0.175 millimeter. So let's try to find one of those. 0.105 to 0.175. So let's use 0.178. I don't have 0.175. Let's see if this is on the... Okay, 0.178 is not fitting in. So, hey, this part's within spec. Let's see if I can find a smaller one, like 0.10 something. I have 0.102. Let's see if 0.102 fits in there. Okay, 0.102 is not fitting in, so... Okay, 0.127 is not fitting in there. Okay, so the driven gear so far is within spec. Inspect gear backlash. So standard backlash is 0.5 to 0.6 millimeter. Maximum backlash is 0.9. So let's try to find a 0.5. 0.2. 3. 0.5. 2, 4. 0.508. Let's see if 0.508 fits in here. This will be our standard 0.5 to 0.6. So, okay, so I can fit 0.5 in there, right in this spot. So let's see if 0.6 can fit in here. 0.61. Yeah, that sucks. Okay, so it's a little over. It's right out of standard. So 0.61. Okay, 0.61 won't fit in there, but let's see if 0.584 will fit in there. No? Okay. 0.559. 0.559 fits right in there. So it's in standard spec right there. Okay. Maximum backlash 0.9. Let's see if 0.9. Okay, this is 0.8. Will 0.8 fit in here? No, it's not quite up there. Okay, so the the gear backlash is fine. Now we just have to inspect side clearance. So using a thickness gauge and a flat block, measure the side clearance as shown. Standard clearance is 0.03 to 0.09 millimeters. Maximum clearance is 0.15. We are checking the top of the gear and let's say this housing. So it would be like these two parts right here. This is a very flat piece that we're going to try to put our feeler gauge in between these two. So, like we can use the edge right here. This is the flattest part. And we're gonna see if we can fit something in between this small space on these gears. So, standard is 0.03. So let's find 0.03. 0.038. All right, 0.038 will do. Let's see if 0.08 slides in between. Now this is flat. If anything, I can go get a flat piece of metal as well. Let's do this. Okay. That fits. Actually, that slides right under. Wow. All right, maximum, well, 0.03 to 0.09. Let's find 0.09. I can put two together. Okay, these two is right under 0.09. So I'm gonna grab these two and slide it right under these gears. Okay. It's in within spec. It's not sliding under. I can turn the cover just to make sure that's, you know, part of it slides under. Nope, that slides under. All right. What is our maximum? 0.15. 0.15. Let's find our max. 0.152. All right. Let's see if it's at our max. Oh, wait a second. Does that mean this cover is not flat? Okay, for this part, I'm gonna go grab a spare piece of metal. I'll be right back, guys. All right, I have a straight piece of aluminum here. Oh, it's just on this one side of the gear. So it's on this gear. All right. Oh, let me lay this across. Oh God. All right, it's flat. This is 0.15. Can also lay it down. 0.15 does not slide under. Let me stand it back up. 0.15 does not slide under. Let me just check this one, just, you know, just in case. Nothing. Okay. Now let's check our spec again. 0.03 to 0.09. Let's find 0.03 again. 0.038. Let's do this gear. Let's do it like this. All right, that slides under. Yep, that slides right under. Jesus. All right, so that's not in spec. Now let's check 0.09. Put these two together, makes 9. Lay that down. So that doesn't slide under there. So that's actually within spec. Let's see where it's actually at. Let's see if it slides under at 0.6. All right, let's see where it's at. Lay that on top. Okay. So this one is it's just barely out. Let's check maximum 0.15, and we can do like 0.12 or something like that. Let's check 0.12, see if it's just like outside of the standard spec. Okay, so 0.12 is not going under, so it's not. So it's just a little out of spec on this one. The other two, the gear backlash it passed, the body clearance it passed, but the inspect side clearance, that one, it kind of failed just a little bit. All right, guys. So I'm not too sure what to do here. If I should run my OEM pump that I had on here that has like 200,000 miles on it, and just go that route, or go buy another aftermarket one, which this pump that failed, it was a D&J pump. I'm not getting another one of those. There's a brand called SKP, but I haven't found any info on them at all. So I'm going to open up the old pump, or the new pump, and then throw that drive gear in there and see if there's like a different backlash clearance in it. And I might run it. If not, if it doesn't clear, then I'm just going to order another pump, like SKP or something like that. That's like my only other option. One more thing to note, I took out the drive gears, or the what are they called? I think they are the drive gears. It's the other gear that isn't attached to the drive shaft. Anyway, so the one on the right is the D&J gear. The one on the left is the OEM Eisen. I don't know why the D&J one is taller, because I was just going to swap those gears over to see if the clearances were better, but I cannot do that. And also the inside of this pump is a little bit different, because this D&J one, the shaft goes through that gear. So interesting choice. I don't know why they made that decision, because here's the stock one. It doesn't even poke out. So since it seems like this body is just a little bit bigger, so I'm wondering if this was off just, I don't know, maybe like 0.5 millimeter of meeting up with the drive shaft gear, and it just caused an issue of it completely destroying itself. So anyway, I'm going to conclude day 2.5 with you guys, jumbled up together between taking everything out, got the pump situation kind of under control a little bit. At least it came out. I did not see any other damage caused inside of the engine itself. The drive shaft gear still spun freely. I didn't see any marring on the end of the gear. So that's actually a relief. So that's nice. It just seems like whatever happened with this pump failed. I am running the Drift Motion upgraded spring in that D&J pump. So maybe the excess pressure just caused it to fail. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe it can't handle the pressure on it, which if that's the case, I'll just run a stock spring and just deal with lower oil pressure, and maybe remove my oil filter plate, because apparently that's another restriction. So if I remove that and then put like an aftermarket one in it, maybe it'll increase the oil pressure. But anyways, so stay tuned for video 3 of what I'm going to do, throwing in either the old pump or the new pump, and then let's see if the engine starts. And I hope I don't have rod knock. I really hope the bearings are fine, which I'm pretty sure they are. But anyways, if you guys like this video, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to see more videos like these, and comment below if you've had an oil pump grenade on you like this. Anyways, I'll see you in video 3, and I'll catch you on the next ride.